How you doing, guys? This is Jeffrey Pearl. Another King James episode. I'm gonna try to take a second and debunk evolution without using the Bible. And you say, "Well, I don't see how you gonna do that, Jeff. Everybody just uses the Bible to debunk it." So, just using science, just using the human intelligence. Here's how I'll debunk evolution. if if mankind was one animal and evolved into a hairless animal, they would die off in the winter. So you think, well, they constructed clothing to keep themselves warm and to keep themselves from being scratched by things and all. Well, I have calluses, and I know that you wouldn't need clothing to keep yourself safe from scratching things, because you'd eventually just get calloused up and not need clothing, really. But it say you wanted to construct this clothing to keep warm, you would have to first come up with the idea that something's wrong with me. I'm hurting. It only seems to do it when there's snow on the ground. It must be this weather. It must be the cold. Let me construct me some clothing so that I can survive. That would be the thinking process. So the thinking process of this would be, something's going on out here with this weather. I'm hurting really bad. I need to survive. What can I do to make myself warmer, to hold heat? Now, first of all, we'd have to say that in the beginning, if it happened the way science tells it, there's no such thing as language. I thought about it and thought about it. And you know how I think about it? In word format. In word format. Do you understand that? So when I think it's morning time, I'm going to get my coffee started, study my Bible. Those are words that go through my thought process. I don't think pictures. And I've tried to think pictures. You know what happens when I try to think pictures? I try to think, how could man make language without already having language? First of all, you'd have to think, I need to communicate with this other person. And you'd probably start with sounds. But without the thought, without the language, without English words to say, I need to communicate. What is communicate? What is I? You can't think pictures. You can't think pictures to start creating a language. You can't start with no language and go to a language. Why would you? Even if you could use pictures in your mind to start saying, hey, when I grunt, I'm gonna punch this guy. Okay, you just thought words. You're gonna have to sit here and think about how you would do that. How you would start a language. First of all, there needs to be a reason to communicate with the other person that you're with, or people that you're with. Dogs communicate with each other by sniffing each other's butt and barking. So what more communication did the dogs need? They don't. They survive. If they was a pack of wolves, they'd know by their growls and grunts what was going on. If we as humans felt love for one another, we'd do it by touch and feel and looks and cries. The only reason a person would need language that I can see is so that you can deceive other people. You know, if I could tell this guy that I had food that I don't have so that I could borrow some of his food, that'd be a reason I could see you'd need language. But what other reason would you need language? And you can't create language without the thought process and first to think words of thought. You can't think. Here's what we'll do. Try to picture a rock. I can't pull up a picture in my mind. I can think the word rock, and then I can think of words that would describe what a rock looks like. But I can't pull up the picture without first saying the word. And then even saying the word, like I said, I can picture the words that say rough around the edges, kind of round but not round. Words in my mind, I can picture or tell you or describe to you what a rock would look like, but I can't make a picture pop up in my mind. So I don't think it would be possible at all to go from not having a language to having a language. You would have to have the language before you'd have thought process. Children, when they learn how to talk real good, that's when they start to put together how to think. Because they have to have words to put thoughts together. And you know how people like to say that the Bible isn't accurate and there ain't no science in it? Well, why is AI language models? Why are they trying to make language model AI? Because that's how you would make something think, is by giving it a language to think in. So they put ChatGPT and all this stuff together, and then they have humans all over the world communicating with it, so it can see how communication works. Then when it sees completely and fully understands how communication works, it can then think in that language. But without the language, it ain't gonna think. You ain't gonna think. You can't think of, I'm getting hungry. You can't think of, I need to find a wife. You can't think of, dang, there's a bear. I need to get somewhere. You can't think of, I need to be able to communicate with people around me so that I can trick them into stuff. That'd be the only reason you'd need that stuff. You don't need language. If you put some children in a controlled environment with no language around, no one around to teach them how to talk, nothing, they would just be stuck in there with the other kids that's growing up with them that they don't never hear language ever. They're not going to come up with one. They're not going to start saying, hey, we need to start communicating with each other because I need to trick you into something. No, they're going to think, when I'm sad, I'll cry, and the other person will embrace me. When I like somebody, I'll smile. That's how they would communicate. They're not going to come up with a language system. But they try to depict it that that these cavemen was drawing pictures of things to communicate with each other and to tell stories and stuff without language. How are you going to think, I need to put some of these experiences I have on this wall so that I can teach other people not to go around the big black thing with teeth because it'll eat you and all these things, without first being able to think those words in your brain to put together the thought? So thought doesn't work without language. Well, that's pretty simple to understand. It doesn't take rocket science to understand that without language, you can't think anything. You could look around and grunt and without words to put your thoughts in order, in format, you can't construct ideals. You can't construct ideas without words. So if that's the case, then we'd say they can't be no evolution. They can't be a way humans all of a sudden just started saying, hey man, if I make this sound, thinking to themselves, if I make this sound, that person kind of backs up, they know I'm angry, so this is what I'll do, is I'll start making this sound to let them know that I'm happy. You see all the words I just used to tell myself that I'm finna do that? So take away the words, take away the language. You're gonna tell me they were thinking in pictures? And I'm thinking this out loud, but I'm just saying it out loud so you can see what y'all want me to believe. Picture of this is without words, but this is just an example. Picture of me with a mad face. Picture of this guy backing away. Picture of me with a smile face. Picture of this guy coming up to shake my hand. And then that's how we created language, is by picturing these little pictures. If you had a picture of a happy guy and a sad guy, with someone who knows language, they can say, this guy's happy, this guy's sad. They can even create scenes. With language, I can say, this guy looks like he's scared of this guy, and this guy looks like he's got a mad face, so he's threatening, putting off an aura of threatening to the guy who looks scared. So I would say this picture means, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, then you need 1,000 words to construct an idea. But the Bible, it works out in the Bible, because the Bible says God made Adam a full-grown man that could talk. That's the only way it could happen, is if you was already had a language in there, because you ain't going to have somebody smarter than the animals that are running around growling and barking at each other without a language to think in that makes you smarter than they are. Anyway, that's my starting thoughts. Is there ain't no way you gonna convince me that humans came up with a language. They had a language to think with and then expanded their vocabulary. That's possible. You could do that. Thank you, guys.